Craft beer fans, start your engines. This is the 512 IPA on Nitro, a badass beverage brewed in Austin, Texas by 512 Brewing Company. Loaded with hops, organic malted barley, and water straight out of the 512 area code, this IPA brings the thunder with an IBU of 65 and an ABV of 7.2%. And with a Nitro presentation, it's like having a hop-tastic milkshake. Beer milkshake. I'm Mike Langford, and this is Local, a show about locally brewed craft beer. If enjoying craft beer is a religious experience for you, and you find yourself in Austin, Texas, you need to make a hoppy pilgrimage to Craft Pride on Rainy Street. With a tap wall exclusively dedicated to locally brewed Texas creations, Craft Pride is a testament to the Local movement. Husband and wife team JT and Brandy Egli are the entrepreneurs whose passion for the Austin craft beer scene was so strong that they left their home in Iowa a few years back to create a venue that is craft through and through.
JT, thank you very much for having me in, brother. It is a pleasure to be here.
Always
at
a
Craft
pleasure,
Pride.
man.
This
Always
place
a pleasure.
is amazing. Well, first of all, cheers.
Cheers.
Thanks for having me in.
Absolutely.
What are we drinking here, brother?
This is 512's IPA. Delivery is a little bit different. We are drinking on Nitro today.
Nitro beer.
Yes, sir.
It's
Nitro.
delicious. Tell us about what is Nitro, what makes it different, how does it affect the beer?
The nitrogen is basically the propellant out of the keg. So the effect is actually amplified by the tap, and as you pour it, you'll see the cascading effect that's kind of forcing the beer and the nitrogen together, and that's what gives it that thick, almost milkshake mouthfeel. It's from the nitrogen, because it does not literally dissolve in the beer. Both are fighting together, so it's like a hot milkshake.
Yeah.
I think you're going to see a trend, more people going on nitrogen.
It made it creamier. To some extent, it made it a little more, what I would call it, refreshing, which a lot of times IPAs aren't particularly refreshing because they're so hoppy and they're
Depends on who you ask.
Depends on what kind of day you had, really, is how refreshing
I could drink
IPA
this
is.
110 out, I don't care. 512 IPA was the first actual Austin beer that I had, and it's literally a staple. If I don't have it, you know, at least a couple times a week, I feel like I'm cheating on it.
Let's transition into this amazing place we have here called Craft Pride that you and your lovely wife Brandi created. Husband and wife entrepreneur team. Really excited to hear about the entrepreneurial journey, about what makes Craft Pride exciting.
We started homebrewing about 9 years ago now. Forrest Rogness from Rogness Brewing in Austin Homebrew is Brandy's cousin. So we had a very awesome tap into the homebrew community and into the Austin beer scene. When I first got into homebrewing, I was still not into craft beer. Between Forrest and a couple of my friends that were homebrewing, I very quickly transitioned into craft beer, and we actually came down to Austin. My wife and I came down to Austin luckily just over 3 years ago now, and it was right before the first Austin Beer Week at the end of October. We spent the whole week here during Austin Beer Week and really fell in love with the local beer scene. Got to meet a lot of the brewers, just had a great time, and we basically went home, packed, and moved down to Austin.
That's exciting. Then your concept wowed me when somebody told me about it. It was this, they serve only craft beer and they focus almost exclusively on Texas craft beer.
Our tap wall and our cask engines are exclusively Texas. We do have the bottle shop where we do have out-of-state and imports as well in there, wine, ciders. The really awesome thing about our concept is that was literally brewed, you know, like 2 miles away.
Right.
It's really hard to get that fresh of an IPA from anywhere else. When we order it, it's the same day delivery. And the farthest beer I think we have right now on the wall is 4 hours away. It's as fresh as you're gonna get.
That's great. I love it. You take it down to even like the way that you've put this place together, right? I mean, there's a hand-carved wooden map of Texas up here on the ceiling that has little dots of light from where the beers come from in Texas with the
roadmap to the breweries.
Gigantic craft beer center of the world. Austin, Texas.
Absolutely. Well, it would be ridiculous. It would just look like a bunch of bullet holes if we put all the Austin breweries up there, so we just decided
Just
a star
big
would work.
star. It looks great.
Everything boiled down to our mission statement on our business plan, and it was literally, it's all about the beer. It made decisions extremely easy. Well, this system is going to cost us an extra X amount of money.
Yeah.
Well, it's all about the beer. You can screw a lot of things up from the keg to the glass.
Sure.
OCD person would love our walk-in. I mean, all the labels are face right. We clean our lines more than anyone in town.
Yeah.
Our tap system is state-of-the-art, one of the best, if not the best in the state. Down to, like we were discussing before, we have a nitrogen fill station in our walk-in cooler.
I can see us doing lots of episodes here and introducing ourselves to all sorts of new beers that are coming in.
We're very excited.
I mean, the
when we
scene
do.
is definitely growing here in Austin, so there's going to be more and more to talk about.
Austin's coming up with some crazy shit, man. I mean, they're doing some awesome stuff that not everyone else is willing to try, you know? I mean, it takes a lot to get out there and go into the deep end before anybody else does, and they're definitely doing it.
For me, it's definitely an evening beer. I mean, and I think that probably is mainly IPAs for me. I'm like, you know, after work, anytime type of deal.
For the vast majority, I would totally agree with that. I mean, IPAs are going to be extremely hoppy, obviously. So they're going to kind of be your palate wreckers. You definitely want to drink them after you've eaten, or so, you know, especially a very delicate meal or something that you're very wanting to taste.
Sure.
The majority of IPAs I drink are definitely palate wreckers.
Yeah.
So it's pretty much pointless to drink or eat anything after them.
It's funny, I was laughing about that because I'm like, oh, this totally ruins my next question, which is what would you pair this beer with? Like,
I can totally answer that though.
Okay.
If you like spicy, IPAs actually enhance the heat. I drink most of my IPAs with you know, Texas barbecue, especially with some spice. Thai food, extremely spicy, does really well with IPAs.
It makes it a little more delicious
If you're a hothead.
Intense flavor.
I want my beers extremely hoppy. I want my food extremely spicy. I want to be violated in my palate when I eat. I think it's a waste, you know, if I'm not. I was building furniture 2 days before our soft opening, and a gentleman came in. He did have one of the big three on his shirt. He walked in, looked at the tap wall, and he asked if the owner was around. Of course, I don't look like an owner, I look like a door guy. I said, yeah, I'm the owner. And he's looking at the tap wall and he goes, "Is it a craft beer bar?" I said, "Yes, sir. Thank you for your time." And he turned around and walked out. And that was the last I've ever heard or seen of him.
That's awesome.
That was probably the proudest moment in my owner's career so far to the hadn't even been open yet, and we chased one of the big three out. It was pretty awesome.
Yeah, he knew he wasn't going to sell anything here.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Speaking of this menu and the tap wall here, there's something pretty special about that. I mean, you mentioned that's a giant piece of steel.
It's a 16-inch plate steel.
Wow.
The tap wall itself weighs about 800 pounds. The menu weighs about 600.
That's amazing. You know, you got a little music area that you set up here for evenings and so forth.
2 stages.
But outside is huge.
Oh yeah, backyard's deceiving. Most
Backyard
people don't know about a backyard.
is stunning. And the other thing you showed me, there is a chandelier over here. That is, it's the molecule of what is it again? You told me.
It's the beta acids. Yeah, your humulus lupulus. We've actually had a biochemist sitting at the bar by chance, drinking beer one day. He asked, you know, "What's that chandelier?" And I said, "Well, as everybody asks me, I say the same thing. If you can tell me what that is, I'll buy you a beer." Of course, it's null and void now.
It's null and void
now. So if you can tell me what that is, I'll buy you a beer. And he said, "Well, I'm thinking it's some kind of chemical." I'm like, holy shit, this is the first person that's ever even come close. I'm gonna have to buy this guy a beer. And he's guessing, and I'm like, you're close enough, I'll buy you a beer. Well, it's our beta acids. And the number one question I get after I tell them it's beta acid, they say, "Well, why don't you use alpha acid?" And the only thing I can tell you is alpha acid would have made an ugly chandelier. IPA milkshake.
That's delicious.
512 can be a little too hoppy for some people, but being on nitro, it makes it creamier. It just makes it a little more palatable.
Yeah.
It makes it not so aggressive.
Yeah. Even with flavors, I think a little visually, I would say it kind of rounds the flavor a little bit. Like, so when I think of hops, I think of a sharp flavor, right?
Oh,
so pointy, if you want to call it that, right? So when I tasted this, the creaminess made it feel like it was rounded out, a little softer. I still definitely get that flavor, but it doesn't feel as pointy and punching me in the face every single time I hit it.
That's a great way to explain it.
So we're reaching the end here. Thank you very much. This is a delicious beer.
Cheers.